Our tale begins with a humble stickman. His goal, create a civilization. It is up to you guys to decide the first move. Our first suggestion was to get a sword, and so our protagonist now has a sword. It seems we are going the epic fantasy route. What dragons shall he slay with this mighty sword? Only time will tell. Let's move on to the next suggestion. Transgenderize her. Okay, I'm not gonna act like I didn't see that coming, I just didn't think it would be this soon, but alright. Our protagonist is now a woman. Let's move on. Make her slay a god slash monster. Oh, wait. Wow, an actual encounter. Okay, I wasn't expecting to get one of those so soon, but hey, our quest has begun. Our protagonist encounters a wild donkey. Do you choose to fight or flee? A poll was actually held for this decision, and surprisingly, the majority of people wanted to befriend the donkey, which I wasn't expecting. That is everyone except RG Bread, who for whatever strange reason wanted to seduce the donkey. Yeah, I'm not really gonna touch on that, but yeah. Anyways, our protagonist now has a new companion, and I for one am very interested to see where the story goes from here. Have her and her donkey travel to the nearest landmark. Okay, not a bad suggestion actually. It seems we are finally getting the story moving along. After many hours of traveling, our protagonist and her trusty steed encounter an ominous obelisk with strange runes on it. Does she inspect it or does she ride past? And of course, everybody chose to inspect it. Is what I would say if this server was full of normal fucking human beings. Instead, the people held a poll and wanted to milk the donkey. I'm not sure why, and multiple people were advocating for the milking of the donkey, so whatever, you get your donkey milked. Our protagonist attempts to drink milk from her steed and develops food poisoning. Wow, who could have seen that coming? Certainly not I. Alright, I'm going to pause here so I can quickly address something. From this point forward, the entire chat kinda went to shit. Literally, like, I mean that literally. These guys would not stop talking about shit. Like, seriously, they kept on giving me prompts involving shit, because I guess they thought it would be funny. I don't know. They had a fucking poll to decide the next move, and inspecting the obelisk and shitting on the obelisk ended up tying. This is the only time I'm gonna bring it up in a video, but believe me, it carries on throughout the whole playthrough, and this thing lasted around 3 hours, and somehow there's 87 mentions of shit in the channel. But whatever, I digress. Anyways, back to the story. That's the last I'm gonna bring up with that. Back to the story. The protagonist tries to inspect the obelisk, but the overwhelming pressure from it, along with the poison, knocks her unconscious. What shall the donkey do? Ooh, a nice twist. Well, no one could really decide what to do at this point, so I kinda just took it on myself to move the story along. You're welcome. The protagonist donkey carries her to find someone who can help, and stumbles upon an old man in the wilderness. Whatever shall they do? Beat the old man into submission in an Earthbound style battle to add him to our party. Oh yeah, that makes sense. I haven't played Earthbound, but I know it's turn-based combat, so that's how we'll structure the battle. At last, our first battle. Donkey uses kick and deals 1 damage. Okay, maybe he can recover. Old man attacks, dealing 9 damage. Donkey is fucking dead. Needless to say, people were not very happy about Donkey being dead, but you know, I was in a good mood, so I figured I'd give them a second chance and reroll to revive. Donkey rolled another 1. What a bum. Alright, this next segment is pretty much just me setting up another encounter to move the story forward. Long story short, the old man is actually a doctor, and he proceeds to heal our protagonist. He only killed the donkey out of self-defense. The donkey attacked first. That's how self-defense works. The protagonist explains her goals of creating a perfect civilization, because remember, that was the initial prompt at the beginning. I don't know when we're gonna get back to that. The doctor agrees to join the party. Our heroes wander around the wilderness for a bit and come across a group of mindless stickmen. How do they proceed? Enslave them. Well, okay, I guess. The mindless stickmen are attracted by the shine of our protagonist's blade. They decide to make her their queen. Stickmen take the form of a chainsaw. Okay, so for this response, I decided to take some creative liberties with it. I don't know if that's cheating, but I decided to use the idea in a way I felt would make the story better. So instead of becoming chainsaws, the mindless stickmen create a chainsaw as a gift for their new queen. Use the chainsaw to chop down trees. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can work with that. The party goes to chop down trees, but there's a little boy protecting the trees. How does she proceed? This probably comes as no surprise at all, but everyone was in agreement that the boy was to be sacrificed to the previously encountered obelisk, because, of course. Our protagonist orders the mindless ones to offer the boy as a sacrifice to the obelisk. The doctor worries that she's headed down a dark path. Well, it's pretty dark alright, because the boy dies. His life force is sucked out of him, and the obelisk grows stronger. The doctor is outraged by this. He knows where things are headed if the protagonist doesn't lay off the sacrifices for good. Will she listen to him? Will she heed his words and turn around before she's too far gone? No, because she's just gonna sacrifice the doctor too. In a peculiar turn of events, it seems the mindless ones are unaffected by the ominous powers of the obelisk. Perhaps there's a connection between the two. From here, someone suggested the mindless ones use the chainsaw to chop down the obelisk, and so they do. Our protagonist orders the mindless one to cut down the obelisk and carry it along with them on their travels. Let the weak be attracted like flies. And so they are. We now have our first encounter with another party. How shall they interact with one another? Will they join forces? Will they aid our hero in her quest to achieve the perfect civilization? Throw it at them. Yeah, that makes sense. The protagonist orders the mindless ones to throw the obelisk at the family of travelers, killing them instantly. The obelisk feeds on their essence, growing even stronger. After the obelisk absorbs the essence and grows stronger, the mindless ones begin to speak amongst themselves in strange tongues. It seems they are somehow connected to the obelisk, but alas, our protagonist cannot decipher their speech. She will need a translator. Plus, he suggests that the mindless ones may be filled with obelisk juice. Strokes follows the idea by suggesting that the juice will fill our protagonist with knowledge, and so her fate is sealed. Our protagonist carves into one of the mindless stickman's heads and feasts on his brains. It fills her with strength and insight on the language of the runes. At this point, somebody suggested something insane and so far out there. Pogman says, guys, crazy idea. What if we build a civilization? What if, man? What if? Soraya suggests that our protagonist eats the other two mindless stickmen. Our protagonist then spends 2 days fully devouring and digesting all three mindless ones. By the time she's done, the obelisk pulls her to it. It seems its ominous effects no longer affect her. She can now get close enough to touch it. Should she touch it or turn the other way? The obelisk calls her. She longs to be with it. Allow her to join with it. And so the obelisk cooks you, just like all the others. You are not the first, nor will you be the last. Another will come after you and bear the same fate. You began your journey alone, and you ended alone. The end. This fucking sucks. Anyways, thank you for watching this video all the way through. If you did, I'm not sure why you did, but thank you for that. This is actually the first video I've done in this style and format where it's like actually an edited, well put together video. I have a review of the new Smurfs movie coming out sometime this month, hopefully. It's a pretty long one. I'm not even halfway done with the script yet, but I'm very excited to work on that. This is like the first, I want to say, D&D type of thing I've really had any experience with, like DMing. I know it's not really much like being a dungeon master, but I think the idea is kind of similar. So I was a bit rusty at it. Sometimes I had to do my own story building to get the story moving along forward, and we never did build that civilization, which is a shame. You know, maybe in the next one we will. If you want to join in on the next one, then join the Wozite Discord server. The link is down in the description. Thanks for watching this, and goodbye.